The internet makes almost every piece of information about the world easily accessible. However, there are still some secrets about the world you probably didn't know, like Sir Winston Churchill and his UFO cover-ups. Churchill is heralded as one of the greatest political leaders in history, mainly because of his exploits when he served as the Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1940 to 1945, and again from 1951 to 1955. A statesman, writer, orator, and Nobel Peace Prize winner, Churchill served in the British military during World War I, then led Britain to victory during the Second World War. All of his memorable deeds remain fondly remembered by people all around the UK, but guess what no one ever talks about? The fact that Churchill actually covered up information about UFOs and evidence of extraterrestrial life. You heard that right. Many people today have a misconception that the existence of aliens is recent news that developed over the past 2 or 3 decades. Well, that couldn't be any further from the truth, considering Churchill has been dead for about 6 decades now. The facts are, during his second term in office as Prime Minister in 1952, Churchill requested a report on flying saucers. He did this after being informed of an encounter between a Royal Air Force aircraft and a mysterious flying object during World War II. Reports even have it that Churchill informed United States General Dwight D. Eisenhower about these sightings. But rather than let this become public information, Winston Churchill ordered the classification of all documents regarding the UFO sightings. His line of thought was that keeping this information private would avert mass panic, and you know what? Maybe he was right to have done that, considering the events of the ongoing World War. The only issue is, he didn't just cover up these reports, he also commanded they stay hidden for 50 years. The only reason this information came to light was when Britain's Ministry of Defense released its latest batch of UFO-related files to the National Archives. Among those files were letters written by the grandson of an RAF member who'd served as one of Churchill's bodyguards. It was these letters that revealed the classification of said documents, but knowing the state of the UK government, it's unlikely these files are ever declassified for public access. Just before we move on from the UK and their Prime Minister, let's take a quick look at something called the Letters of Last Resort. Okay, the entire idea behind this secret is a bit grim, and it's one secret everyone hopes never gets revealed. Why? Well, that's because the Letters of Last Resort are 4 identically worded handwritten letters written by each Prime Minister of the UK that are only to be delivered when the nation is in an apocalyptic state. These 4 letters are addressed to the commanding officers of the 4 British ballistic missile submarines and are stored on board of each submarine. So technically, it's like a Prime Minister's will in case a nuclear strike destroys the British government and the PM gets incapacitated. Every Prime Minister writes them when he or she gets into office, and the letters are completely destroyed when said minister finishes his or her tenure. So far, the UK is still standing, so there's never been a need for the content of this letter to be revealed, so only the issuer of each letter knows what it contains. However, some inside reports from 2008 have claimed that the Prime Minister has 4 known options to include in the letter. The first is to retaliate with nuclear weapons, the second is to not retaliate, the third is to use their own judgment, while the fourth is to place the submarine under an allied country's command if possible. There have been other claims, including one from The Guardian in 2016 that states that the letter included the option to put yourself under the command of the United States, if it is still there, or go to Australia. Whatever the truth about the contents are, the chilling truth is the existence of a letter that could prove to be the final act of His Majesty's government. Moving over quickly to the United States, here's a disturbing secret from God's own country that most people don't know. The CIA have conducted mind control experiments. The CIA might be compromised. We've seen that narrative in a ton of movies and fictional stories. We tend to never think of the possibility that it's true. And maybe it's not, but if there's anything that makes such a high-profile national security guiding organization look dirty, it's the fact that they have actually dabbled in experiments of mind control. The most profound of these experiments took place at the height of the Cold War, when the Central Intelligence Agency conducted covert illegal scientific research on human subjects. The program was given the codename Project MKUltra, and human subjects were put under the needle to explore the possibilities of being controlled with some predetermined codes. Everything from LSD and barbiturates to hypnosis, radiological, and even biological agents were used to carry out these unsanctioned practices. A few years later, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all documents from MKUltra destroyed. However, it was eventually leaked that these experiments by the CIA actually spanned longer than the Cold War. In fact, an investigation revealed that for over 2 decades, the agency spent nearly $20 million on these experiments. They enlisted the services of researchers and scientists from all over the world to carry out these experiments, and went as far as relocating their facilities all the way to Canada to avoid being found out. Some reports claim the aim was to control average human beings and use them to carry out assassinations and other covert tasks. But to date, the million-dollar question remains: did they succeed? Did the mind control experiments yield any fruit? Our answer: we'll probably never know. Not just because it's hard to believe it worked, but also because you'd probably never know you were being controlled right now. The CIA would have to release a statement someday to clear the air, but that's unlikely. which can also be said regarding the truth about Area 51, another secret the American government has kept and will probably never reveal the truth about. This is a crazy one. After all, there's a known location for this particular secret. Area 51 is a military base about 75 miles northwest of Las Vegas. The location has actually been known for quite a while now, yet no soul has been able to reveal a glimpse of what really goes on within the perimeter. Some CIA veterans and other military and political people who have actually worked on the base and been within those eerie walls have made some claims regarding what goes on there. On a general note, they all deny Area 51 having anything to do with extraterrestrials and aliens, which by the way is the most profound public suspicion. A few who retired many years ago narrate a tale from the 1960s. The tale claims that the site was used for testing out spy planes like the A-12 and its record-breaking speedy successor, the SR-71 Blackbird. Others have stated that they were paid either in cash or by checks issued from seemingly unrelated companies like Pan America World Airways for their work in Area 51. That doesn't reveal what goes on inside, but it's definitely an indication of something fishy. Here's our take. Area 51 has been in use for decades, going as far back as the 60s, but the CIA only officially revealed the existence of the facility in 2013. Yeah, it's a military base for training and a testing ground for both experimental aircraft and high-tech weaponry, but could there be more? What could have possibly been taking place in the compound that it took the government so long to officially admit to its existence? Only time will tell. Approaching the end of the video, we'll take a quick look at some of the world's biggest secrets that aren't even politically motivated, like the fact that the ocean is a bathtub of deadly diseases. The Earth is made up of 71% water. That means there's at least 2 times the mass of land covered with water. Generally, these water bodies are known to be a habitat for other living creatures like plants and aquatic animals. However, scientists would rather keep it hidden that the ocean is actually home to more diseases and bacteria than you can think of. There's a vast range of microorganisms that live in marine ecosystems, and although they live there unaffected and unharmed, these microbes also pose great risk to human health. Take for example the bacterium known as Vibrio vulnificus. It's present majorly in warm coastal waters that feel good to soak in during a vacation. However, Vibrio vulnificus can cause severe infections through open wounds or consumption of contaminated seafood. There's a ton of marine viruses that infect phytoplankton and bacteria cells, making the possibility of viruses that can harm human health in that water body endless. Remember back in August 2014 when a harmful algal bloom in Lake Erie contaminated Toledo, Ohio's water supply, and over 400,000 residents of the town had no access to drinkable water for days? That's just one example of the variety of diseases that can come from water bodies. Research even has it that 1 milliliter of ocean water can contain approximately 10 million viruses. That's how dangerous water bodies can be, so before you soak in a random lake while on vacation, be sure to make your findings. Remember the first secret mentioned about Churchill and extraterrestrial activities? Well, this last secret is a culmination of that and the dreadfulness of water bodies. It's the secret of the bloop. While most sci-fi stories and conspiracy theories talk about alien activities descending from space to our skies, there's a possibility that these beings actually exist deep beneath the ground. This was discovered by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration a few years ago when they noticed a mysterious sound coming from the deepest part of the ocean. This eerie and unexplained sound can be heard emanating from the depths of the ocean, and by depth, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of feet below sea level. The NOAA scientists who picked up this sound initially suggested that it was related to the movement of glaciers underneath the wave. However, further experiments and research has shown that to be inaccurate. There are other similar unexplainable sounds with distinct characteristics and patterns that come from deep in the ocean, like the upsweep in Julia. Some researchers have concluded that the sounds are a result of geological events like ice quakes or volcanic activity. Others believe the sounds are being made by discovering marine animals. And as for the few explorers and divers who have dared to find out the truth, many have gone in but never returned. And today it's unlikely anyone will be keen to pick up where they left off. Everything about it points to the existence of beings that don't want to be found, so it might just remain a secret till the end of time.